Good afternoon, good evening, good morning, everybody, wherever you are. This is Mr. Shakespeare here on the 31st of August, 2022, and I'm here with psychic medium and remote viewer Liz Cross. How are you doing today, Liz?
Oh, very well, thank you.
Okay. Right, well, we're gonna probe some banks today in this one and a couple of other entities. So we're going to start with the European Central Banks.
Okay. Why are we... Okay, I'll just let you lead.
Well, we want to find out what's going on with central banks, so we need to speak to the banks.
Okay.
So, okay. Now then, we need to get a connection with them, please.
Okay. Am I connecting with this guy or just...
No, with the bank. I don't know who this guy is.
Oh, okay. All right. I had him here on standby. Let me tell him bye. All right. What would you like to know?
So the European Central Bank started in June 1998, so it's been going for 24 years now. And it basically is the central bank for the Eurozone, in other words, the European Union members that are in the Euro.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. How's the bank doing today?
How is the bank doing today? They're scared.
What are they scared of?
What are you scared of? The euro. The euro keeps dropping.
Okay.
They're trying to find ways to make it stable again, and it's virtually impossible. With what's coming down the pike this winter, they think that the euro will be completely devalued and crash.
Okay. Okay, right. Okay.
It's like, where do you go from here?
Well, that's covered a few questions I was going to ask. Okay. Right. So, when do they think? So, when they say the euro is going to crash, do they mean in its value against the US dollar? Because you have to compare it with something. You can't just say it's crashing. You have to compare it with something.
Comparison to the value of the US dollar. Well, to all the currencies, it doesn't believe it's strong enough. It's against the pound and against the dollar.
Right. Okay. Right. We just need to find.
I don't know what the current exchange rate is today, but I do know that the pound is exceptionally low. It's worrying how low the pound is. And with the projected forecast for the UK this winter, which is 75% of pubs and restaurants are going to close because they cannot afford the electricity and the gas to keep them running. I think that's definitely worth a probe as well. That is going to crash the pound down to nothing.
Okay, you're front running my questions, Liz.
Must be psychic.
Okay, I know you are. Okay.
$1.16 today. Have you ever known it to be $1.16?
No, I haven't.
That's mental. It's great. It's great for Americans going over that way, right?
Okay.
Because normally, I've seen it when it was $2 to the pound, and when I was a kid, I remember it being $2.30 to the pound, and my parents absolutely panicking when we had to go back there for a visit. And how could they possibly afford it? Because it was $2 something to the pound. I mean, $1.16 is just insane.
Right. Okay. Thanks for that. Right. Good. Right.
You said in your most sarcastic tone.
How am I supposed to keep track of all this when you will go? Yeah. Anyway. Right. Now, Liz, let's ask the European Central Bank. Can you move the European Central Bank forward till the end of June 2023?
Yes, I take it. She's the EU, isn't she? Let's go.
No, I'm not. We'll come to her in a minute. No, I just want to
Okay.
concentrate on the bank for now, please.
European Central Bank. Let's go June 30th, 2023, 8 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time. Okay, what would you like to know?
How's the euro doing? How's the euro been doing the last 6 or 7 months?
How's the euro been doing the last 6 or 7 months? It's in dire straits.
Have they taken any steps to introduce a central bank digital currency based around the euro?
Have they taken any steps based on central digital currency? No, they haven't.
Do they have any plans to in the next 6 months?
No, that's a very dangerous move.
Is that what they're saying?
Yes, it would completely collapse the euro, and this European Central Bank then becomes irrelevant.
Right, but if it was issued by the ECB, that's where I was going with this.
Are you thinking of issuing a digital currency? No, they're not allowed to do that.
Okay, can we just hold them there and grab Christine Lagarde, please, who's the head of the ECB?
Yeah. Okay, Christine Lagarde. Yeah, I've got her.
How's she doing today?
She drinks a lot.
Okay.
She likes champagne.
Likes to do what, sorry?
She likes champagne.
Hey, why not? She's French and in France, so.
Oh, well, there you go.
Okay, let's push her forward to the end of June 2023.
Okay.
June.
June 30th, 2023, 8 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time. Okay, what would you like to know?
She's still head of the ECB?
Are you still head of the ECB? I don't think so.
Oh.
I feel like she steps down.
Was she pushed or did she want to step down?
Did you want to step down? Yes, it was her choice to go.
What was coming into her figuring as to why she wanted to go?
What was coming into your figuring as to why you wanted to go? The euro. The euro is difficult. Countries are now trying to scramble to find reasons to even keep the euro as the European Union. I feel like the European Union is starting to fall apart. I feel like with this crisis that's going on, this energy crisis, people are wanting to take their sovereignty back. And, you know, everything is in jeopardy.
So she's sort of the English phrase would be rats leaving a sinking ship, that type of thing.
Right.
So she knows the writing's on the wall, so she's bailed out.
She doesn't know how to fix. She's had to bail out.
No, well, she's not an economist by training. She's a lawyer by training, and there was always a lot of talk as to why she was put in as the figurehead of the ECB.
Oh, that's a good question. Why do you think that you were put as the head as the ECB? Because she's competent. That was her answer. I feel like the competition was at the time was not great. Also, she does as she's told.
That, I think you'll find, is the most important thing.
She does as she's told. Like, she listens very well. She takes on board what everybody advises her to do. So, you know, she's flexible. That's why she's there.
Okay. did she try, while she was president of the ECB, to introduce a central bank digital currency anyway, in any shape or form?
You were president of the ECB to introduce a digital currency. No, she wouldn't even know how to do that.
Right. Okay.
There's no way. She doesn't understand it. She can't wrap her head around technology in that way. She is not a tech person whatsoever. They've tried to explain things to her. Have people recommended that you go to a digital currency? Yes, there have been recommendations, but that's coming from what she calls is the junior members and not the senior members, right? And so she just says, oh yeah, I'll listen to it, but no, we're not going there, because it will collapse the bank. It will.
Okay, but she doesn't know anything about banking, but she's the head of the ECB. So,
well, why do you think it will collapse the bank? Because that's what she's been advised.
okay. How's her relationship with Jerome Powell?
How's your relationship with Jerome Powell? She believes it's good.
Okay. Does she know how the Fed's doing? How are they doing?
How is the Federal Reserve doing? Well, stronger than the euro. And what about the pound? Much stronger than the pound. So it looks like the dollar is definitely maintaining status on the globe.
Yeah, which is what's come across on so many of our readings. Yep.
What about the dollar to the ruble? What is stronger, the dollar or the ruble? I feel that at this point in time, the ruble is it the strongest currency in the world? No, it's not the strongest currency in the world, but it's very, very strong when we look out it's summer next year.
Well, that makes sense. I mean, yes, it's not going to topple the dollar, because the dollar is 70 to 80% of everything in the world, transactional wise. A lot of debt, dollar denominated debt, exists in the world and in the European Union. Does she have any knowledge of people struggling to repay the dollar debts with the deflated euro?
Yeah, people struggling to pay the dollar debt as related to the euro.
Well, no, they've got to sell euros, but of course, if the rate has crashed, they've got to sell more euros to cover their dollar liabilities. You see.
Okay, break that down for me in a very simple question.
Are people struggling to pay their dollar denominated debt if they only have euros?
People struggle to pay their dollar denominated debt if they only have euros. Yes, there's a huge struggle.
Is that one of the causes of the lowering of the dollar euro rate? In other words, the euro is collapsing against the dollar because a lot of people are selling euros.
Are a lot of people selling euros? Yes, too many euros. Are you printing more euros? No, they're not printing more.
No, they're not allowed to. It's not like.
Oh, I didn't know that, because I thought, are they maybe going to try to beat this with printing more euros? And they're saying, no, we're not printing more euros. I didn't know they're not allowed to.
No, only the Fed is allowed to create elastic money. So only the Fed can do that.
So even the Bank of England
can't do it.
You're joking. I didn't know that.
No, they can. They loan money or loan currency or loan credit into existence when they have a borrower on the other side. But they have to have a borrower. The Fed is completely unique. People don't understand. It's not like any other central bank. So
the money that's out there as far as like the euro, as far as the Bank of England and a lot of these other central banks. The money that's out there is a defined amount of energy that cannot be created, right?
Well, anybody can denominate a contract in dollars or pounds or euro, rubles or yen or whatever. Historically, most contracts on the international stage have been denominated in the US dollar, which is actually the Federal Reserve note, but in the dollar, yeah. So there's something called the euro dollar market, which is all the dollars that are outside the US, and there's more dollars outside the US than there is inside the US. And so if people are having to find dollars to pay their dollar denominated loans, whether they're in France, Australia, Bulgaria, Switzerland, it doesn't matter. There is a massive need for dollars. So there's a massive need for dollars, which keeps the dollar strength high. And that's what we've been seeing in a lot of these readings. So this is just yet another confirmation that the dollar, is the strongest out of all of them. Now, that does not mean that it will come without consequences, because eventually all these dollars only have one place to go, and that's back to the US, which will cause unbelievable inflation in the US, because all the dollars will go back to the US. Because at the moment, the Federal Reserve, and we've had this on previous readings, they keep their interest rate high. So, if you own a lot of, have a lot of capital likes to go where it's treated the best. So if the European Union is only offering 1% and the Federal Reserve is offering 4%, where are you going to put your money? You're going to put it in the US, aren't you? And so a lot of dollars will pile back to the US, and that will cause problems for the US. But it will retain the dollar supremacy. So the dollar.
Yes, and that is why don't be fooled by the US coming out with a digital currency anytime soon. Don't be fooled by that, right?
They won't. No chance.
No, they won't. I don't see it every single time. I do not see that. I check it over and over and over. Well, if the XRP case settles, that will become the main, currency. No. Not now, not anytime soon. Do not kid yourself over this. I'm serious.
Okay. Have we still got the ECB?
Yes, I do.
Can you put it out another year to June 2024?
Yes, let's go June 30th. Let me drop her. Okay, I'm going to drop her. June 30th. That's so funny when I do these readings, and even when I'm doing private readings for people. and sometimes I forget to pull them down. They'll text me and say, Liz, I still feel it. Can you pull me down, please? You've done that, actually. When you've had a reading with me, you're like, I'm still up in the air. You need to pull me down. Okay, because you can feel it. What does it feel like exactly?
Well, I've only had one reading with you. So, I've had two, sorry. I can't explain it really, but I know you're there.
Going in, it's really weird.
You do feel a little bit floaty, not completely, but a little bit. Yeah.
A floaty, and also it kind of feels like I've had it described as a roller coaster ride, or
I don't get that. No, I just get
you
floaty.
don't get that, or
No.
Or you feel unsettled. You feel unsettled. Yeah.
Yeah, floaty, unsettled, but not roller coaster. I don't get that. So.
Woo! Okay. Free tickets to Disney World, right? Okay, so what would you like to know? You want them out June 30th, 2024, 8 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time. What would you like to know?
How's the ECB doing?
How's the ECB doing? I feel like it's under a lot of scrutiny. I feel like it's not going well for them.
So what's happened to the euro in the last year? on the
Uh,
international stage.
what's happened to the euro over the last year? It's in the dumps. Even in 2024, when there's an starting to economically recover. Okay, here we go. So this is very telling. In 2024, when the rest of the world, or certainly most of the world, is seeing a real economic recovery, okay, Europe is not.
Right. Okay. Well,
That's not good.
no, but to all the Europeans out there, you did it to yourself. Nobody else did it. You did it to yourself.
Well, that's going to bring on the hate comment.
Well, it's true. It's absolutely true.
Well, I remember when the euro came in and what it did to the economies then. I remember France crashed, Italy crashed, all the economies that swapped over, certainly most of them that swapped over to the euro, they crashed. I mean, it gave them a terrible economic situation in those countries. And in the UK, they did not suffer in that way because they retained their currency. But all the other countries really crashed. It took them a while to get out of that.
Well, yeah, but the euro was set up based on the Deutschmark, which was the strongest currency. Most of the other European countries did not meet the criteria, should not have been anywhere near the euro. I mean, you know, you cannot compare. Like, this is what people don't understand. There is one federal US interest rate. Okay? One. Because it's based on the federal debt of all the states and everything. Individual states, which don't have the ability to print money, you know, they can issue bonds and they will get priced on the market accordingly. But the Federal Reserve issues one interest rate for the whole of the federated states of the US. Now, in theory, so does the European Central Bank. But the problem is that all the nations are not joined together. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
They have the right of freedom of movement and things like that, and they have one currency. But if you think that Greece's bonds and its debt is matched by Germany, and which is then equivalent to Spanish debt, every single European country in the euro has different rates of interest. If the euro was done properly, if the European Union was done properly, they would have amalgamated all European debt, but they haven't. Now, maybe that was probably at the insistence of the Germans, who have the lowest interest rate debt. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
There's a huge feeling that, you know, the Germans work very hard and do what they do, and there's a lot of countries who are hanging around the Mediterranean and spend a bit too much time not doing that, to put it mildly. And so you're trying to force an economic union on member states which have absolutely nothing in common, and that's why it was going to fail. It was always going to fail. I mean, you cannot force, you know, Germans have this, you know, remembering obviously what happened with all of their inflationary periods of time, which is the Weimar, and then the worst one, which most people don't even know about, which is in 46. You know, they are fully aware of the ravages of inflation and money printing and things like that, you know. Some other countries, Spain, Greece, and places like that, don't have the same memory and don't care. You know, they have a different attitude to life. Whereas, you know, the Federal Reserve sets the Federal Reserve rate, its benchmark rate, and it doesn't matter whether you're in Louisiana, whether you're in Florida, whether you're in the Hamptons, or whether you're in California. It's the rate that affects everybody, of which all the other rates go off, you know. The European Central Union is not the same as the United States of America, and the ECB is not the same as the Federal Reserve. You know, they're completely different. And so Europe really is, you know, the thing that most people wanted out of Europe. They wanted just the freedom of movement, which you get, you know, and the one currency, which you get, but that just saves, that makes it easier for people to transact business. But in the back, in the back office, if you like, it's a nightmare, because they're having to support Italian bonds at the moment because they're crashing. And so, that there's different bonds for different countries set at different interest rates. It really is a complete mess. It was never set up correctly from the beginning. So,
can I ask you this question? Do you believe that, yes, there was the free movement of goods and the free movement of people, but also I think, and I'm definitely getting this information on a spiritual level, that some of these lower performing countries were told that basically they were going to be bankrolled.
I don't know if they were told they were going to be bankrolled, but I know for a fact that most of the lower performing countries suffered massive inflation when they joined the euro. And basically, as somebody explained it to me many years ago, it was a way of Germany exporting its own inflation around the European Union. Yeah. Germany is an economic powerhouse, has been for quite a while. It produces lots of things that people want. German cars, German engineering, German washing machines, all sorts of things. And that's not to say that other countries don't, but, it was set up as the screwdriver nation after the war. And they're very good at what they do in the main, But the problem is that if you think about, the Spanish lira compared to the Deutschmark, how many lira were to one Deutschmark before the European Union, before the euro started? I don't know, but it was thousands. So it wasn't 1 to 1. Yeah. So you have to look at all the countries' exchange rates compared to the Deutschmark prior to the existence of the euro, and they were nowhere near it. And then suddenly now they're the same. So in other words, coffee might have cost 10 or 20 or 30 peseta in Spain. Now it's a euro. Well, that's about a 1,200% increase or something overnight. And that's why all the costs of everything went up in the European Union everywhere, but wages didn't go up. So that's the problem. When the euro came in, the price of everything in the European Union suddenly matched Germany. But, if you're Pepe and Manuela in Spain and you have, basic salary and you're used to paying next to nothing for a coffee, like 2 cents or something, or 3 or 5 cents, and now you're paying a euro, wow. That's inflationary, isn't it?
Manuela, don't mention the war.
Well, yeah, I'm just picking on Spanish names.
No, I know, but you know what I'm talking about. Those UK listeners will know as well.
Yeah, it's just, and this is the problem that the ECB and the European Union have had since the inception. It was rammed through the thing to keep them all together. The idea, well, there were many ideas. One, they wouldn't all be at war with each other because they had a lot in common, but they don't have a lot in common. That's the point. And most of the lower ranking countries shouldn't be anywhere near the euro. They just shouldn't. Their economies just do not, they had to, I think it was Goldman Sachs that had to do all sorts of skullduggery to get Greece into the European Union by doing default swaps and credits and pretend they were richer than they were and all sorts of things, because there was a minimum requirement. That minimum requirement was set essentially by German standards, and most countries just do not match.
Wow.
The entry bar was set very high. And so, I can accept why and understand why France and countries like that were in from the beginning, of course, they have a big agricultural sector and things like that. So, but, if you look at German performance since the war compared to other European countries, it dwarfs them, So, but now they're suffering the problems because if the euro crashes, which it looks like it is, And even in 2024, it doesn't look like it's had any form of recovery. That means a flat 2 years nearly for the European Union. No wonder they're trying to think about leaving, because they want control of their money again. One of the reasons why the English, the British, never joined the euro, because they understood, control your money. So, okay, yes, you've got to exchange it and you're subject to market, but at the end of the day, the British pound is now stronger than the euro.
And the British pound isn't strong.
And the British pound isn't strong. No, it isn't.
Let's do this quick probe, if you don't mind. Let me move the UK out till December. No, let's go. Yeah, December 31st, 2022. APA has the projected 75% of pubs and restaurants actually happened that they closed. No, it is about 35 to 40% though.
Still a lot.
That is a hell of a lot. So think about all those people that are going to be unemployed. And they're going to have to be on unemployment, and they're going to have to be on benefits, and somebody has to pay for that. Why is it the UK is just not doing anything about the cost of energy? And this is my big thing. Why is it that surely the UK is self-sufficient when it comes to producing electricity? Do you know if that's true?
No, it's not. The problem is the green lobby took over, and we're not allowed to burn coal. We don't need nuclear power stations. We're all supposed to live off sustainable and windmills in our garden. That's it.
Right. And you do get a lot of wind and rain.
It doesn't matter. It does not matter. The whole windmills and the sustainable, it's a nonsense, because it requires massive amounts of diesel and oil to produce the equipment in the first place. Nuclear is the most efficient at the moment form of energy that we have.
Okay.
Russia has developed its own thorium-based reactors, and so it basically can produce it for almost nothing. Germany was shut down by the Greens, the so-called Greens, and England was the same thing. We didn't have, our energy policies were co-opted basically by the Green Brigade, and said no nuclear power stations, no coal, no this, no that. Well, that means, we don't have enough. North Sea oil is pretty much gone. That was all pulled out in the 70s and 80s. So, we don't have the ability to service not a huge country in landmass, but a lot of people in a relatively small space of time. We have unbelievable high energy costs, which are just getting higher. We're not in control of our own energy. See, basically, America generally is. America does, although they're pulling, at the moment, Biden is pulling oil out of strategic reserves to keep the price down, obviously, and this is to do with the upcoming midterm elections.
Right.
So that is going to cause a problem. And
that goes hand in hand with all the probes that we did, especially with the Saudi guy, and I can't remember his name.
Mohammed MBS.
Yeah, him, which is, when we viewed him out into the future, the biggest scramble was oil reserves. So you can understand now how that scramble, because we're doing these probes and we're having to piece everything together, and you can see how that scramble is actually very relevant. It's everybody scrambling over their reserves because they're trying to keep the cost low. So we're dipping into our reserves here. Maybe the world is dipping into their reserves as well. But we really have a lot more work to do, and to find out exactly what's going on. And I would say, for anybody who doesn't want to be kept in the dark, literally, pardon the pun, over the electricity in the future, I think, stay tuned. Keep
We
probing.
need to,
This is an
yeah.
ongoing situation.
Yeah, can we just drop the ECB and Lagarde or anyway and grab the Bank of England for a minute?
Yes, okay.
Okay, put the Bank of England out till the end of next June, please.
Okay, so June 30th, 2022. Oh, sorry, June 30th, 2023, 8 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time. Okay.
How's the pound doing on the global stage?
How's the pound doing on the global stage? How's it doing on a global stage? I feel like it's gone down about another maybe 5-10%.
Okay, does it have parity with the dollar yet?
Excuse me. Does it have parity with the dollar yet? I feel like it's very close. So almost dollar to pound. Well,
yeah.
Next year, woohoo! Sorry about that, folks. I'm teasing.
Yeah, you'll be able to come over for nothing, Liz.
Yeah. Well, the flights are expensive, but yeah.
Yeah, but you'll buy them in dollars. So.
That's true. And actually, the cheapest way to fly to London from the US, if you're not in the northeastern part of the US and get a direct flight, is to drive to Toronto and take a flight from Toronto, and it's like $400. There you go. There's a little handy tip from Liz. Okay. What would you like to know?
Well, you've answered one question.
Driving to Toronto?
No. About the pound. So the pound is losing value, the same as the euro is losing value on the global stage. And these are losing value to the dollar, everybody. Every currency we're probing is losing value to the dollar.
Yes, that's correct. So it's losing value to the dollar. The dollar is still remaining quite strong. Is it stronger than the rupee?
Yeah, one of the things people should be doing if they are not in the US is to try and get some form of dollar account and hedge their money. This is not financial advice, but this is what I'll be doing, and keeping it in dollars, not in local currencies. Right. How's the UK economy doing as far as the Bank of England can see?
How's the UK economy doing as far as the Bank of England? It's terrible. It's terrible. I feel like a lot of people were not able to heat their homes. A lot of people are not paying their council tax. They've had to put in emergency eviction measures so that you cannot shut people's electricity off and you cannot throw people out of their homes.
Right. Okay. Bad. All right. Put it out another year, please. June 30th, 2024.
June 30th, 2024, 8 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time, 8 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time. Okay. You're not in economic recovery.
Okay. Okay. How's the pound doing on the global stage?
It's very weak.
Has it reached parity with the dollar already, or did it get below, or what's happened?
Yes, it's virtually going one-on-one, one-to-one. So only, it's either on par with the dollar or it's only slightly above, and it's teetering on the brink. They're trying to keep it equal or slightly above a dollar just to maintain status, but they're struggling.
Even by June 2024.
Yes, because the problem is still the energy crisis.
Right.
Have the sanctions been lifted? No, the sanctions have not been lifted. It doesn't matter whether the sanctions are lifted now or not, because Russia is still controlling the energy market.
They pull oil out of the ground at $9 a barrel, so it's not a problem for Russia. Oh dear. Okay.
Russia is actually stronger than the UK economically. They're in full recovery, full swing.
Yeah, well, that does not surprise me. Okay. What can we ask the Bank of England that's pertinent? Is there any talk about issuing a central bank digital currency by the Bank of England?
No, that would spell disaster.
Right.
That would completely devalue the pound, crash it down to nothing. The country would be in turmoil. It's a bad situation.
What does the Bank of England think of the World Economic Forum?
What do you think of the World Economic Forum? That's a disaster too. And I'm so sorry, but we'll have to stop this video here.